and must defeat notorious villains in epic confrontations. Players must save Gotham from a descent into chaos and reinvent themselves into their own version of the Dark Knight. That sounds good to me, and again, most importantly, I think the potential is there because of the Bat family. This game has the potential to introduce a lot more people to the actual character depths behind Jason Todd, Barbara Gordon, Dick Grayson. I just hope they go really far in it. I hope they go all in because there's so much they can do. Each one of these characters has, of course, warranted their own comic books many, many times for really good reason. Now over at number 7, some little things you can notice from the trailer, and the gameplay put out, just some Easter eggs and stuff. McManus26 on Reddit points out a screenshot from the Gotham Knights trailer with the photo of Jim Gordon and Barbara, where they reference that Jim Gordon is dead. That kind of gameplay and trailer thing, we've got this much cool fun.
Diluted thermia could come in handy.
Yeah, next at number 6, you should know that Gotham Knights is playable either solo or as a two-player online cooperative experience. People have been saying this looks like a full-on gaming service type game similar to something like Warframe or but limiting it to players makes me feel a little bit better about that. Maybe it's not really full game.
If Neff won't do anything about these fractures, we'll do it for him. Let's get this fracture sealed.
In action.
Keep him off the canister while it does its thing.
kind of
Plug the data mouse into the terminal, then make sure I'm not bothered.
Or they make their own spin on it. But I'm surprised they didn't show more horsepower. It has the potential to kind of steal the show. But of course, the teasers that lead up to this game have a lot more that alongside horsepower. So there's
You
a
ready?
lot more going on.
Drop that refined coolant into that fracture to get the party
Number
started.
2, of course, we have to acknowledge one of
Hold
the
up.
other big things.
Detecting glass resonance. It's close.
Defensive positions. Do not let them destroy the canister.
Which makes, like I said, very
Whatever these cephalites have become, there's no going back. There's gotta be a way to take these things down.
It's very ballsy because of PS4, Xbox One.
Slot that data mass into the base terminal and I'll get to work.
whatever it is I need to do, so they can ride that frequency and in turn watch everything that's going on. It's a pretty advanced bit of technology and well beyond any real possibility I imagine, but it does give us a scene where Amadeus Cho is basically being interrogated by Kira. And of course, he's never here to ever accuse him. Now, again, Storm to turn against Reese, right? She turned against her husband. And one of the things that we'll find a little more information about this later on, but she feels betrayed by Reese, and that's why she's against it. But one of the things that happens here is that we have Amadeus Cho kind of being a little bit of a smart. And it's sort of funny because probably the character who kind of got carried away.
You ready? Drop that refined coolant into that fracture to get the party started.
And so she basically tells him, like, time's running out for the Illuminati, right? I'm going to catch every single one of you. I'm going to catch you all. There's nothing you can do to stop me. Now, the other part of this is that the information that Amadeus Cho was tasked with accessing and then downloading to his body was also designed by Police.
If Neff won't do anything about these fractures, we'll do it for him. Let's get this fracture sealed. Incoming forces! Protect the ballista! fraction.
There's an 80% chance that you brought all three. And then the incredible Hulk fight, I would put those on. Then he says, and oh my stars, there's even a 60% chance that you asked Susan Storm to come with you. You're predictable, man. Now, the question is, what does all this mean, Steve? Like, what does it mean that I can, within a percentile better than 50, that I can predict what you're going to do? What it means is that you really are predictable. It means you really are a super predictable person. You were predictable when you first met you. You're still predictable. You know what it means.
You ready? Drop that refined coolant into that fraction to get the party started.
If you want to pick up the Illuminati, you want to catch us, you got to start thinking outside the box. You got to start
Incoming forces! Protect the canister! fuel regulation when harvesting thermia. We can use that coolant to dilute the thermia and seal these fractures. He'll crack open a coolant granuloid and use its canister on this fracture. We need refined coolant to close the fracture. Find a coolant arachnoid.
Like the next time you come in here, give me something to report. Whether it's that there's nothing to report or you have some bit of information, it doesn't matter. But do not come in here empty-handed again. And so you end up picking up 2 days later in this abandoned subway tunnel, and you've got Susan Storm, and she said, you can come out now. And the person she's talking to is Reed Richards. Like, she's a spy. She's a spy for the Illuminati in Captain America's camp. It's a genius maneuver. Like, Reed's like, they bought it? She's like, yeah. Like, she's like, all I had to do was just pitch some story about how I was tired of feeling like I was, less intelligent than you and being less pained by you. Every time you go off of one of your campaigns, you don't tell me what's going on, that I'm left in the dark. All I had to do was just tell them that I was tired. Because it's common knowledge. It's common knowledge that Reed will let me out.
Keep him off the canister while it does its thing.
There's glass resonance in your neighborhood.
fracture. If Neth won't do anything about these fractures, we'll do it for him. Let's get this fracture
make sure you guys hit the
sealed.
like button if you enjoyed the video. Let's begin. Alright, what's going on, guys? This is
Defensive positions. Do not let them destroy the canister.
And what we're going to do is we're going to cover the I didn't really plan on it, and the reason why is the first video that we did. And the reason why is written by Nick Spencer and by the time we got to the end, it did provide some context. And this bit of discussion is going to provide context to what we're talking about in relation to like what the ball goes like just liking out other worlds and taking comfort in it, like enjoying the idea of what they're doing, and how Namor lost control. And then we'll jump back into the meat and potatoes of Hickman's Avengers and the Avengers. So what this does is it basically picks up with the Fantastic Four on Earth 47385383. But again, this is just alternate reality stuff, right? Like actually Gabriel, one of like a really long time fan, like that guy's cool. Every time I went to New York Comic-Con, we never happened to meet each other, and we need to. I don't even know, Gabriel, do you have a pub program? If you don't, like you should have gotten it a long time ago. Yeah, hit me up on Twitter. Send me a DM on Twitter, and I'll send you a pub program. But nonetheless, the part of the story that we saw in the last
blew
video,
it.
right, when like Thanos killed
Gotta let
the
this one
X-Men
go,
Gabriel, that was
Sparky.
in an alternate reality, right? So when you see like Thanos, like from this point going forward, when you see Thanos and the Black Order like killing people on other worlds, that's alternate reality stuff. But on that particular world, there weren't really any superheroes except for the X-Men. That seemed to be the case. So this takes place on an alternate reality as well. And this really seems to be a world where there is nobody but the Fantastic Four, right? It's really just these guys. And the Fantastic Four have like a great big huge army, that kind of a thing. But we basically pick up in the middle of the Fantastic Four's army going against the forces of the Black Order and getting totally overrun, right? I mean, it's not really even much of a fight. Like these guys are just overrun and completely obliterated. Now, one thing to understand here, guys, is that this is one of those things where the longer that Thanos and his Black Order and Namor are out there in the multiverse facing off against different worlds, the more capable they become, right? Because you start to notice certain patterns that when they go to any one particular Earth, they're only really going to face off against one of a handful of forces, right? Like some alternate reality version of the Avengers, some alternate reality version of the X-Men, or some alternate reality version of the Fantastic Four. And getting used to the Fantastic Four, getting used to the abilities of the X-Men, getting used to having face-off with the Avengers, after a while, it just kind of becomes rinse and repeat, and you know exactly what they're going to do. And that's why they prove themselves being so capable of taking out all these various forces. Because after a while, it's really just practice, right? It's just an exercise in efficiency and killing. And so this basically leads to Namor the Submariner, who's seemingly on this throne of the Fantastic Four, right? And he's basically killed Reed. Susan shows up there again. This alternate reality Susan shows up there and is surprised to see that Namor is there. But with this Namor arriving here, he almost kind of tells Susan that he's still as much in love with her as he ever was, and really more with the concept of Susan, right? With the idea of Susan's story. And the reason why is he kind of hits at what Hickman did during Fantastic Four with Reed Richards, where it's like every universe that they travel to where they encounter a version of Susan, she's as headstrong as any other universal counterpart, right? Especially the main Marvel universe. When you look at her, she's one of these characters where she's headstrong, she's stubborn in a lot of ways, but she's got it together. And if there's any one chick you want in your corner, it's definitely her, right? She's got it where it counts. Her force fields can hold off celestial power, different things like that. She's by no means someone to scoff at. But where Namor kind of comforts her and says, hey, look, does the best he can to kind of ease her transition and helping her understand there's nothing you can do to save your world, and your world is going to be destroyed. Ultimately, she ends up being killed by Proxima Midnight. And Proxima Midnight's like, it's time to go. Like, we're here to kill a world. There's no time for sentimentality here, right? We came here to kill a world. She's dead. Let's destroy the world. Let's go, right? We're going to call it a day. And that's exactly what the Cabal do, right? They set off the antimatter bomb, they obliterate the world, and they basically leave. Now, from here, it transitions over to a small little conversation between Namor the Submariner and Black Swan. And this, where you kind of have Namor who's sitting here sort of kind of recalling these memories of people who are like begging for their lives and different things like that. The reality is that what Namor signed on for is more than he can handle. And that's one of the cool things here. It really shows us that where Jonathan Hickman wrote Namor Submariner in such a way to where he's like, I will do what needs to be done if the rest of you Illuminati won't, and that's why he formed the Cabal. What it really shows is that Namor kind of bit off more than he could chew. That Namor thought he was ready to destroy worlds. He thought he was ready to do what needs to be done. But at the end of the day, the Black Swan was right when they first met her at the very beginning of Hickman's Avengers and New Avengers. It basically robs you of what makes you who you are. It robs you of your heroism. It robs you of your humanity. It forces you to do things that you wouldn't do, and you end up losing yourself. And that's exactly what's happened with Namor. Slowly and steadily, he's been losing himself in this time that he spent with the Cabal. He's basically surrounded by regret. He's surrounded by sadness and misery by knowing that there are so many innocent lives out there that perish.
Operator,
and he tries to justify it by saying, like, I do what I do to make my greater good in order to save my universe, but it doesn't assuage his conscience. It doesn't help him accept the fact that billions and billions, and really even we're getting into the trillions at this point, of innocent people have perished at the hands of the Cabal that he created and has now lost control of. Now, in his conversation with the Black Swan, she tells him, I can see the chinks in your armor. I can see that you are basically showing weakness. You're regretting your choice to side with the Cabal. You're regretting your choice to make it. Like, you're regretting the decisions that you've made in doing what has to be done. But understand, there's no place here for sentimentality. There's no place here for weakness. Now, this is really important here because one of the things to understand is that at this point in the story, in Hickman's Avengers and New Avengers, there's a lot of things going on in the collapse of the multiverse that we still don't know, right? We don't know who the Ivory Kings are. We don't know who Raboom Alal is, right? The person that started the incursions in the first place. We don't know the origin of the Black Priest. We don't know that kind of stuff. We know the origin of the map makers, but that's basically it. There's a lot that we don't understand. And that was the whole message of Black Swan. The great wheel turns. Raboom Alal will get his due. Like, Raboom Alal will be satisfied in the destruction of these worlds. There's no room for weakness here. Understand, you signed on for this. And if you don't believe that you can handle this, then we will kill you, right? Like, we'll destroy you and we'll continue on with what we have to do. It's so interesting to have a guy who sat down and said, I'm going to do what I feel like I must do, but at the same time ends up regretting it later on down the road, only to find out that those individuals who appear to be bloodlusted are actually picking up where he left off. It's intriguing to see. Now, this jumps to an alternate reality where you have the Fantastic Farm, right? And this is Earth number 287, blah, 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 a whole bunch of random numbers. Anyway, this is an alternate reality here. And what this shows, and it's kind of interesting, we're not given a lot of context to this Earth. We're just given the Fantastic Farm, right? So Reed Richards is basically a farmer. He's still, an inventor. He still creates devices, and he's got some pretty advanced devices to help him tend to the yard, right? Because work smart, not hard, right? That's the best thing to do. But then he's suddenly met by the arrival of Namor the Submariner. And then you switch back to Thanos and company. And what we end up having, or at least what we end up finding out here, is that Namor had called them all together for a meeting. But when they arrive there, Namor's nowhere to be found. And when the question is asked, where's Namor at? Proxima Midnight responds, he apparently took off to that Earth 20 minutes ago. And that's when Thanos starts to freak out because it's like, what's going on here, right? Like, what is happening here? And so Thanos feels as though he's being made a fool of. Black Swan's watching on, realizing, okay, this is probably the moment when Namor is going to fall. And then once you end up having Thanos and his company showing up on this world, then Namor says, well, I scouted this place out ahead of time, right? I scouted this place out so that, I could basically save you the trouble. And he basically says, like, I've taken care of the bomb. I've taken care of everything. We can just leave now, right? Namor tries to, shoo them off the planet, basically, right? He tries to get them away. And initially, Thanos is like, no, you're going to deny the Cabal its tribute. And the response of Namor is yes. And he punches the crap out of Thanos. And so it's kind of a back and forth, and it's only really for a moment, right? It's, Namor punching Thanos, getting a couple licks in, and then Thanos overpowers him quite readily. And it even kind of makes this comment, I had forgotten, the thrill of a capable adversary, right? I've forgotten what it's like to face off against somebody who was on my level in different ways. And so what he does is he actually tells Thanos what he did. And it's the coolest thing, right? Because he asks him, where's the bomb now, right? Give me the detonator. And the response of Namor is, I don't have the detonator. I don't have it on me. I understand the nature of Reed Richards, and I understand the nature of Susan Storm. I fought beside them on my world for years and years and years. And this alternate reality version of their characters are the exact same. They're the exact same kind of people as the people that we're used to. And so I know that if I go and talk to them and tell them what's going on, they'll listen to reason. And that's exactly what he did. He went and told Reed, here's what's going on. Here's the nature of the incursions. This is a bomb here that could destroy your world, and I'm asking you to destroy it because it would save my world. The question you have to ask is, are you willing to make that sacrifice? Are you willing to end your world for the purpose of saving another? And it's the ultimate notion, it's the ultimate idea of self-sacrifice, right? And Reed Richards is a kind of guy, at least in this alternate reality version, that would seem to do it. Now, it seems to fly in the face of everything that we know, but then we kind of get a little bit of exposition here, right? where Namor kind of expands on this and says, it's not just about this idea of sacrifice. Understand that if you don't do this, there is a fate worse than death that's coming for you. The Cabal will come here and they will destroy everything you know, and they won't do it quickly. They won't just annihilate you. They won't just kill Susan Storm or anything like that. They'll take their time. They'll make you suffer. They take enjoyment out of that. So I give you an option. Either you can detonate this bomb and die quickly, or you can keep it. You can hold on to it. You can wait for the Cabal and you can die slowly. But ultimately, there's really no way for you to survive this particular incident. And so what ends up happening is you find out that this alternate reality version of Reed has the detonator. And that's when you have Namor laughing at Thanos and saying, like, this is it. I knew it was going to end this way. And this alternate reality version of Reed pulls the trigger and detonates this antimatter bomb. And when it seems like Thanos and Namor and all of them are going to die, they're suddenly whisked away, right? They teleport back to the necropolis, back to their base of operations. And that's when Thanos tells Namor, understand, if you believe that you're leading this Cabal anymore, you're not. And if you ever really believed you were leading it, you weren't. The only thing that you were leading is yourself down the path of self-lies. That's all you were doing, right? You were leading yourself down this primrose path. Understand, I am Thanos the Mad Titan. I am no one's servant. No one rules me. No one tells me what I will do. If I decide that I want to kill you, I will kill you. And so he says, if you get in the way of this Cabal again, I will kill you. I will kill you where you stand, right? I will snuff your life out like that. And ultimately, you end up having Namor, who basically acquiesces. And that's what we kind of pick up with the idea of Namor seeking out Dr. Doom and also telling the Illuminati, the Cabal is beyond my control, right? They're beyond my ability to manage and maintain. Now from here, we switch over to the formation of the Multiversal Avengers team. And the funny thing about this is that this is the plan of Sunspot, but it's only one part of the plan, right? Sunspot's got a twofold plan here. The first is to basically form his own Avengers team, the Multiversal Avengers, which will go into the multiverse and then find the source of the incursions. But the second thing that he puts into motion is a plan to answer the question, what if we can't, right? Like, what if it comes down to the fact that we have to destroy our own world in order to survive? Remember, that's one of the things that Black Swan talked about. Now, you know, Sunspot has never really met Black Swan. He probably doesn't really know who she is, but it's one of these things where he's intelligent enough to have figured it out, right? Black Swan said early on in Jonathan Hickman's Avengers, the New Avengers, that's in some alternate reality Earths, that's what the superheroes did, right? Because the Earth was the incursion point. So if both Earths crash into each other, then it'll lead to the destruction of both universes. Either that or one of the Earths has to be destroyed for both universes to survive. What it led to is some superheroes destroying their own world, right? And evacuating as many people off their Earth as they could, and then taking up residence out in space until they could find a new home, and in the process obliterating their own Earth, right? Basically, you know, keeping their universe safe without any real home. Now, not everyone was saved, and it was actually Beast. It was Hank McCoy who came up with the idea on alternate reality Earths, right? It's kind of a crazy thing. But the Multiversal Avengers team is formed out of a couple different scenarios, right? And that's what AIM had been working on under the direction of Sunspot over the last 8 months, right? Before we picked up with the 8-month jump, Advanced Idea Mechanics was just exploring the source of the incursions. They were using their resources to explore the multiverse and find out why it was collapsing, why it was dying. Once Sunspot took over, then Sunspot had a more directive approach, and it was, let's create basically a kind of bridge, right? Let's create a teleportation device that can send our forces out into the multiverse into different locations and find out what's going on. And so you end up getting Nightmask, Starbrand, Hyperion, Thor, Abyss, and a whole bunch of Ex Nihilos, right? A whole bunch of Ex Nihili who are going out there. And the reason why the Ex Nihilos are involved here is that while they are basically life creators, at the end of the day, they exist to preserve life. And so if there is a force out there that's ending life, then by their own definition, they should fight it, defeat it, and then allow life to proliferate, right? So it's really the most pure version of their individual cause. But you end up having these guys basically walking through this portal, traveling forward for the purpose of exploring the multiverse and trying to find out what happens next. But here's an important thing. This is an exceedingly important conversation here, that when you end up having Sunspot having a conversation with Thor, the two of them start talking. It's one of these things where he tells Thor, like, sending them out there into the multiverse, that it feels wrong. And where Thor's like, why? Like, why does that feel wrong? And he says, because I'm staying here and I'm trying to find some way to keep our universe safe, right? Whether it means destroying our own world and trying to find some means of surviving out there in space as essentially refugees. I don't know, but I feel like I should be out there. Like, I feel I should be going with all of you guys and you know, trying to save as many universes as I possibly can. But ultimately Thor says, we don't know what's out there and your mind is needed here. your intelligence, your resources, they're needed here. And it's one of the things a Sunspot knows as well. It's safer for him to stay here because ultimately, if it doesn't work, if Thor and them go out there and there's no solution to be found, then it's like, okay, then we can rely on your plan. But Sunspot stops him and he says, look, man, you have to understand something. Like, you understand what this mission is, right? And he's like, there's no coming back from this. You guys are all going to die out there. Like, no matter what happens, you guys are going to die. If you find the source of the incursions, it's going to be unlikely that you can stop it. If you come across the Black Priests, you're probably going to die. If you come across the Ivory Kings, you're definitely going to die. Who knows what you're going to encounter? But understand, this is a one-way mission. There's no expectation of you returning here. And then Thor has like the best response ever. He says, yes, it is an end. But to die striking down the Great Destroyer, what would be better fitting of somebody like me, right? I'm Thor, the god of thunder. I will not die sleeping in my bed. I will not grow old and die of age. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die in the most honorable way possible. I'm going to die doing everything I possibly can to stop the incursions. It's the most Thor response that anybody could ever imagine. But here's the cool thing, right? Well, I'm not going to do any spoilers. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I will say this. Thor and Hyperion end up having what's probably the single greatest moment in the history of Marvel Comics. It is amazing. And if you guys know what I'm talking about, you guys know what I'm talking about. Like, don't spoil it. Please do not spoil it down in the comments. But it's amazing. It's like the coolest lines. Oh my god, it's like my favorite moment from the entirety of Hickman's Avengers and New Avengers run. Well, almost. My favorite moment is what Hank Pym tells everybody, right? When Hank Pym gets back, that's my favorite moment. But that one and the one that comes up in the next video, I've got so many favorite moments, right? Like when the Illuminati set that hologram. You guys read the story? You know what I'm talking about? Like when the Illuminati create the hologram and you've got like Beast and Hulk playing chess. Dude, it's like the coolest thing ever. Like they start talking mad trash. It's the funniest thing. But yeah, so anyway, guys, we're gonna bring this video to an end. If you are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you guys hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Corps. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like. And I will catch you all later. Peace. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button if you guys are enjoying the content that we're throwing up. And make sure you guys hit the like button if you enjoy the video. And yeah, let's begin. All right, what's going on, guys? This is Rob, and we are picking back up again with Avengers and New Avengers. And what we're doing here is we're picking up a little bit in the aftermath of Infinity, right? Not really immediately after Infinity took place, but specifically the whole detonation of the Terrigen bomb. Now, for those of you guys who never saw the Infinity event, you had two stories going on at the same time, right? The main story focused on Thanos, basically trying to acquire his son, ultimately locating him, and then once he was discovered, his son's, powers more or less activating when Black Bolt and Thanos fought. And the reason why that matters is because in the process, Black Bolt basically destroyed detonated the Terrigen bomb, which would spread the Terrigen mist across the world. And so those individuals out there in the world who were Inhumans and simply didn't know, suddenly had their Inhuman powers activated. Now, Thanos, of course, found his son, and you can find out what happens with the rest of that story down in the description. But the idea here is that in the aftermath of that, because Thanos had basically beat Black Bolt within an inch of his life, Black Bolt's been recovering with his aid, or with the aid of his brother, Maximus the Mad. And so with Black Bolt basically recovering, the idea here is that with all these different Inhumans waking up across the world, the intention is to basically travel around the world and to gather these Inhumans together and bring them under the control of the royal family. The funny thing about this is that you actually go into an event from Marvel Comics called Inhumanity and Inhuman, which really sees everything but that happening. It's actually a pretty cool line of comics, and I don't think we ever really covered it. I want to say it was Charles Soule who wrote it, and it was great, right? But from there, we switch over to Wakanda, right? And we pick up with Black Panther. And Black Panther here is basically struggling with this inner turmoil, right? The fact that he doesn't really consider whatever this action is to be weakness, that it's not really doubt, that he knows who he is. But the very idea of what he's pondering here, right? The very idea of what he's considering destroying a world is something that he's wrestling with on a moral scale. And the people he's talking to are basically his ancestors. Now, here's an important thing that I want you guys to understand, that I want you guys to know about. If you saw the Black Panther film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he was communicating with his ancestors in the afterlife. This was not a thing that Black Panther Panther could do until Jonathan Hickman was writing the Fantastic Four, and he introduced the idea that with Shuri becoming the new Black Panther after the events of Doom War and T'Challa basically being forced to step down, that T'Challa gained a new source of power in becoming the King of the Dead. And what that meant is he
Tenno,
could now
the balance of
communicate and
power
talk to his
continues to
ancestors.
shift.
So that's why
Navigation
this
is marked
happens,
with
right? That's
new
why you see it in the
invasions.
MCU. It's a relatively new thing. And so communicating and talking to his ancestors is an interesting concept, because he basically kind of espouses this idea, and when they ask, what are you struggling with? He basically says, in the next hour, there's going to be another incursion. And when that happens, our world is going to face off, or is going to come face to face with another world that houses not villains or evil individuals, but people who are actually heroes like us. They're good guys. They've done good for their world. This will be the first time that we have an incursion where we have to face a threat like this. And my concern here is that we may end up having to destroy these people's worlds. And the response of his ancestors is, so? And it's like it's the coolest response, because he's like, what do you mean so? Right? Like I've done murder, I've done terrible things, and I've done it in a way where I've been king and I've did what I needed to do. But there's a difference between taking out individuals who are a credible threat to Wakanda and taking out what are basically innocent people, right? Because the reality of this is, if they face off against the Great Society and a conflict breaks out and they have to destroy the world of the Great Society, it's not just those heroes who die. It's billions of men, women, and children across the surface, across that world, who die as well, right? People who don't even know what's going on, who are going about their normal lives, and then suddenly the world just ends, right? Like, that's what we're talking about here. And the response of this really comes by way of Black Panther's father himself, right? T'Chaka. And he basically says, here's the thing to understand, right? This is you are of Wakanda. You are a king of Wakanda. You have to understand the price that comes with that, right? Heavy is the head that wears the crown. The question you have to ask here is, over the time that our kingdom has been in existence, over the time that Wakanda has been alive, how many people have we turned away? How many people who were seeking refuge have we told, you can't come here? Because it was important to keep our society safe and secret and hidden away from the world. How many times have we done that? And how many men, women, and children did we kill by virtue of that? But it's what was best for our kingdom. It's what was best for our people. And he says, that's what you're facing here. Anything that could be a threat to Wakanda is a threat worth destroying. That's the way it is. That's how Wakanda is. That's how the ancestors of Black Panther saw it. That's how Black Panther himself is being told to see it. If it's a threat to Wakanda, then it needs to go. So sure, you're going to wipe out a world of however many billions of people if you decide to detonate an antimatter bomb on that earth. But the reality is, either it's them or it's you. And as a king, your job is to protect your people, which means to choose yourself. It means to choose our earth and destroy theirs in the process. If they have a problem with it, sorry.
You too. Frosty, why don't you join us?
Operator, you have remembered well how the Tenno armed themselves.
Underneath the truck in the middle.
Left to you. Get it done. 10 seconds. Objective in play. Go after it. We're on the objective. Secure the area.
Good job.
Got the objective. Took the win. Job well done.
Good job. This dude is good, man.
He's fucking hacking. That's why he's good. He knows where I'm at every time. Middle left. Oh.
You can fight. Get ready.
I got no shot against this dude.
Switching sides.
Nah, he's just got his flavor. We got this, Goliath.
Tied up. We're
Yeah,
still
you got
in
this.
Got aimbot and shit.
Yeah, he's hacking shit. He's lagging all over the place.